Bethesda. We love to talk about this one. How's it going, people? Jack here with another video, and I have been recommended to check out some more from the big boss, whom we've covered some time ago. There was the Nikola. I'm sorry, I'm already chuckling. The Nikola company that made the hybrid cars that we talked about not too long ago, as well as the Blizzard situation being absolutely insane. And today we are covering Bethesda, for which I'm willing to bloody bet that he made a video about Bethesda earlier this year. Yes, he did. It's right next to his Concord one. Well, I guess they were getting some more. But Bethesda is a weird case of a company. As a developer initially, I used to like them quite a bit with the Elder Scrolls series. Those games aren't perfect, but I guess that all of us have gotten to understand that the jank that comes along with the creator engine is weirdly part of the charm, given why the remastered of Elder Scrolls recently is one that literally came with all of the bugs, the different things that we came to learn and love. But that does not excuse a company from not innovating, and even worse, from making dog-shit product. And I'm being serious when I'm saying this, with the case of especially Starfield, because it is important for a company to understand, or anybody at all, that if you want to make progress, you should at least acknowledge that the stuff that you're making does have flaws. And in this case of Starfield, it really lets you know that Bethesda is kind of living in a different space. To illustrate what I mean, here's an article here from May of 2024 where Todd Howard was discussing what his thoughts on Starfield was. As he wrote here, we see a lot of players saying, this is what I want out of a Bethesda game, which is to explore a world in a certain way. And Starfield didn't give me that. I prefer the way it is done in Fallout and Elder Scrolls, which is a very normal thing to say, right? If you are a fan of Bethesda game, you likely mostly grew on the Elder Scrolls series and you prefer the structure in which things are made there. Still, I don't think that is the sole reason as to why Starfield is still sitting at a mix today, but perfectly understandable. I don't think for us, particularly me, going into a science fiction game, I want to be able to land on all the planets. I want the game to say yes to us, knowing that the content is going to be different than you've seen from us in the past. Now, what is interesting towards this entire thing, if you read further, there is close to no mention on how the content is supposed to make you feel different. At least not from the part of Howard's statement, but as the article points out here, as far as I saw, it wasn't really Starfield's structure that rubbed some players the wrong way, but rather that its structure did not have much of interest within it. And that's the thing, the content was insanely boring. And in a similar way that another game, Far Cry 6, absolutely ruined the progression system of a game, at least the conventional ways in which a player is supposed to be progressing, Starfield felt like it was constantly holding the player back. And like it's a genuine misunderstanding on how to make a game appealing. And I'm not even a game designer, okay? So take what I'm saying with a huge grain of salt. But as somebody who has played a lot of their titles and belongs to that audience who would prefer things to be done in the Skyrim and Fallout way, up until Fallout 4, this was not it. Even worse, this year came this wonderful article here by, I think, GameSpot? Yeah, hold on, let me find it. Here it is. Starfield designer says the game fell short of Fallout and Elder Scroll, called space inherently boring, which is funny. It states here, I think it's a good game, he said. I don't think it's in the same caliber as the other two, you know, Fallout or Skyrim, or Elder Scrolls rather, but I think it's a good game. In fact, if another studio had released Starfield, it would have been received differently, he argues, which, no. I don't think so. That's high level of copes. But here is the most interesting part, which actually rubs me the wrong way. I am an enormous space fan. So am I. I'm an amateur astronomer. I'm actually an astrophysics graduate. I'm up on all that stuff, and a lot of the work I did on Starfield was on the astronomical data. Nice. But space is inherently boring. It's literally described as nothingness. So moving toward that isn't where the excitement is, in my opinion. And then he continues to argue against the samey nature of it and how that's where it falls apart, the argument or the rebuttal towards against Starfield. And to that, I just have to say that you have then fundamentally misunderstood what a video game is supposed to be about. There are games that deal with space exploration that are inherently boring, where the tasks you do are very samey. You want to know a game that I played this year that do this very same thing? Well, the people who made Frostpunk and its sequel made this wonderful game called The Altars, where you basically only go out to mine stuff within a restricted amount of time, repeat tasks, but what you go back to do is then to have a sane amount of dialogue with yourself, exploring your own mind. And that's where the gameplay becomes important. The writing in the game sells it all. If you're going to make something that is boring, you should capitalize then on the narrative. If the action isn't there, if the exploration isn't going to feel satisfying in, let's say, I don't know, what's a good example here? No Man's Sky? That now bolsters even more insane amount of planets as you claim that you could do. You can achieve all those things, but you cannot commit the sin, okay? We're getting into religious talk here. You cannot commit the sin of making a game boring. That's where you lose players. And no player should be the one telling this to a designer, narrative, gameplay, or otherwise.
This video is sponsored by War Thunder.
Let's go.
The year is 2013. 2 years since Skyrim. 5 years since Bethesda's last Fallout. And we'd heard nothing. Fans are starved. Ravenous for anything at this point, they scramble for any scraps they could find.
Oh.
Voice actors' tweets, employee leaks, Bethesda staff sightings.
The hardest 4 years to wait, ever. Skyrim was something else, but the wait for a new thing from Bethesda was truly harrowing.
They'd take anything. But on the 14th of November 2013, a website appears online, thesurvivor2299.com. On it, Fallout's Vault-Tec logo and a countdown to December 11th.
Yeah.
That was just 4 days after the Game Awards, where Skyrim was announced 3 years ago. Fans dig through the online directory, and its publisher? ZeniMax Media. Still, some are skeptical. But then 3 days later, ZeniMax Media actually files the trademark for Fallout 4 in Europe. They'd also said nothing about the website. If it wasn't legit, surely they'd just come out and say so. This could only mean one thing. The next Fallout was here. Bethesda hadn't abandoned us. They were finally throwing a bone to the little guy. And fan speculation goes wild. Then comes the Morse codes. Then the Caesar shift cryptography. Then the Visioneer ciphers. Fans are sat at home in their pants for hours deciphering them. They even find a working phone number on the website, which leads to more codes. Some of these codes reference an actual radio frequency in Massachusetts, which sounds like this. Bethesda's YouTube channel is even linked in the source code of the website. This was serious stuff. Bethesda had gone above and beyond with the viral marketing here.
Yeah.
Every gaming outlet is talking about it, and there's even Facebook pages and YouTube channels with daily updates monitoring it. The
Jesus
subreddit
Christ.
watching the website's every move.
Hype culture at its best. We don't get that much today. No, this has been replaced with, listen to this new dog shit take that the director from this company has said. Which, not to be ironic here, I kind of did in the start of the video, but like it's either that or, oh my god, the wokeness in the studio has ruined it all.
The 6th of December 2013, almost 2 weeks of code cracking, and fatigue is beginning to set in. But it's now just 1 day before the Game Awards, And 5 days before the countdown ends, the hype is tangible. And Todd and the boys hit us with this tweet. What? It's gotta be a joke. Some sort of sick joke. But then fans boot up the website, and my god. Gone was the timer, the Vault-Tec logo. All that was left? A rickroll hosted on a server somewhere in Poland. A dark day. 3 weeks of speculation and hype, countless videos on YouTube, and dozens of hours of people's lives spent cracking random ciphers and lining up rivers on Google Maps. For absolutely nothing. Naturally, they're not pleased.
Yeah.
The guy behind the website does an AMA on Reddit and is vilified by the community instantly.
Well, of course he
We
was.
hear nothing else about Fallout for a while, and Fallout fans return to the darkness. June the 2nd, 2015. Another Fallout-themed countdown timer appears. We'd been burned before. Turn it off. But turns out, this time, it's actually real. And on June the 3rd, it's nearing the end. And finally, after years of anticipation, Fallout 4's announcement trailer is actually upon us. June the 14th. It's E3. And Bethesda Game Studios is holding their first full press conference.
Oh,
Todd strolls out on stage again, confidence radiating.
Oh, the red shirt. This was special.
He's met with thunderous applause. Again, the claims are bold.
All of this just works.
It just works.
Hold on. Is that the release date? That's just 5 months away.
It
But
just
first,
worked.
look to the skies. By God, it's thundering time. War
Wow.
Thunder is one of the most comprehensive PvP vehicle combat games ever created. 10 nations, over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships. From some of the most technologically advanced death machines ever concocted by man, to your granddad's crusty old crop duster. Jump into combat in almost anything. The detail is immaculate. Sharp textures, crisp sounds. Every vehicle is delicately modelled right down to the corest of components. Engines, fuel tanks, weapons, and even the lads inside. All of these are individually targetable, and in X-ray view, you'll see everything close up. The game has had over 95 million players.
And how many fires
War Thunder is
leaked?
free to play on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, and now mobile devices too. You're a new or returning player on PC or consoles? Well, for a limited time, here's a massive bonus pack, including an exclusive vehicle decorator, Eagle of Valor, 100,000 silver lions, 7 days of premium, plus a ton more. Just sign up through the link in the description or the pinned comment below.
Back to it.
Now, for some quick context, a few years before Fallout 4 was even announced, Bethesda let Obsidian Entertainment, a Californian development team with several key people from Fallout's original.
Yeah, from where I went on a full-blown rambling session on not too long ago in a Seth-related video with regard to Starfield. That's where we got perhaps the best thing to come out of Fallout in recent years. New Vegas.
Original dev team take the wheel and crank out a Fallout 3 spin-off based on their original plan for Fallout 3 back in 2004.
Fuck the hell yeah.
With only 18 months to get the game out the door, they got to work immediately, and in 2010, Fallout New Vegas was released.
Ooh.
Wait, was that traits from the first games? Joinable factions? An in-depth reputation system?
I hate the air that you breathe!
And actual skill and attribute checks in dialogue and out in the world?
Man, I can't wait to see the look on his face.
Also, the writing here is actually good. The world? Pretty deeply thought out.
Yeah.
With multiple factions at play, an interesting conflict, and actual player choice.
Not
The
bad.
characters are also well written, and if you don't like someone,
Just your
that's
ground.
fine, because this is always an option. Then there's almost every chain of side quests in the game affecting the main story and the ending slideshow. There are actually hundreds of endings here.
An actual RPG. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? They did that in 18 months. Today, what are we left with? We get freaking Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, which is stuck in development hell, which, okay, granted, it's not easy, but still, they spend that amount of time to put out what? A game that doesn't even have RPG features. I know that this is beyond Bethesda, but still, it baffles me that with all of the tools at a lot of developers' disposition, and yes, a lot of the greed from companies, they still don't manage to get at least the fundamentals right. But then again, an argument will come of, why don't you just make your own game? I can't criticize something without having the skills to make something. I can.
We're looking at a 3D Fallout game with actual RPG mechanics and good writing here. In fact, the game had fixed almost everything wrong with Fallout 3, and it was phenomenal. Obsidian even had to work around the crusty Gamebryo engine code, with all the issues that came with it. For instance, if anything in the game is voiced, there has to be a character to actually voice it. This leads to characters in the game like Ron the narrator, Bill the tax collector, and Testicles the debug centurion. The ending slideshow is also an actual in-game slideshow your character's locked into looking at, with Ron the narrator behind it. Anyway, due to the engine, the short development time they'd been given, and the colossal 500 megabytes of RAM they'd had to work with consoles, the big plans they had for the city had to be trimmed considerably. But 18 months in, and Obsidian had made one of the best role-playing games of all time. However, because it's so jam-packed and was made in such a short time, it has a rough start.
I am amongst the many people who have romanticized Fallout New Vegas because I have so many good and fond memories of it. But yeah, technically speaking, all of those features were in there, but having it all work together was another thing.
It's horrifically buggy and horribly optimized on release, almost unplayable in some cases. There's literally a bug where you can't enter the main strip of New Vegas without wearing the old cowboy hat. The bugs are eventually patched, but because of its release date, New Vegas receives 84 points on Metacritic. That was just 1 point short for the bonus Bethesda would have given them, as per the contract. As a result, layoffs at Obsidian, and around 20 to 30 people are banished. Nefarious theories about Bethesda begin to float. Some fans even suggest
Game was rigged from the start.
Obsidian would go on to pitch a Fallout New Vegas 2 and a similar spin-off with Elder Scrolls. A guaranteed cash cow for both parties. But this time, Bethesda says no.
Of course.
And that was the end of it. Fallout 4, probably the most hyped game of 2015. It had been half a decade since we'd last heard anything at all from the franchise, so people are naturally quite excited to jump back in. And on the 10th of November 2015, the game is out the door. The reviews, amazing. 9.5 out of 10 IGN.
Cons,
YouTubers are
bugs.
even calling it near perfect. However, when people actually get their hands on the game, they dig in. And it's neither of those things.
The Fallout of Fallout 4.
During development, Bethesda had looked at Fallout 3's gunplay. Yeah, not really up to standards, boys. So they pulled some programmers from id, who were developing Doom at the time, to help them make actual, functional FPS combat. And as a result, the gameplay here, a lot better. The gun modification system from New Vegas is back, and it's heavily expanded. It's actually very good here, and utilises the horde of absolute shit you amass while playing the game.
Actually, it
Also,
does.
more voice actors. So now every third NPC in the game no longer sounds the exact same. Plus, a few other elements of Fallout 4 had clearly taken some inspiration from New Vegas. This game actually has joinable factions, and they play a big role in the resolution of the main storyline. An improvement. Companions are also a lot better than 3s. They have personalities here, and even their own quests too, like in New Vegas. They now also like or dislike certain actions you do, depending on said personality. There's now a sprint button, and that new power armor, pretty cool. However, that's generally where the good
That's it.
ends.
That's it.
See,
Come
after
with
a
the
bumpy
story.
start, Fallout fans had come to love New Vegas, one of the best RPGs of all time. some even claim. And so, as a following game in the same franchise, some people expected Fallout 4 to improve, maybe even build upon it. No. Todd Howard is, at this point, a legendary game designer, a 4-time world champion. His ideas were groundbreaking. He couldn't be caged. And his process was not changing for this game. He, and Bethesda as a whole, could...
Uh-oh. Yeah, I actually did notice what was written on the board there. Can't kill important NPCs. Too hard to adapt because, yeah, if they all fall apart, then the game becomes too unhinged. Giant launches into space. Yep. Skyrim, more specifically. Potion stacking and coins have weight. Revolutionary.
This game. He, and Bethesda as a whole, could do no wrong. This was going to be another smash hit regardless. Game of the Year was essentially coded in. And so again, simplification. The character system in Fallout 3, far too confusing. Special attributes, perks, and skills? Please. So they removed skills entirely, and merged them into perks and attributes. Traits are still nowhere to be found. The speech. See, half the charm of the old Fallouts are the branching effects of dialogue.
Yeah.
The various quest lines and scraps of information you can wrangle from people using only the gift of the gab.
Who is it?
Who the fuck reads? We gotta give you simplistic choices, ya Belland.
What? I should kick your fucking ass. Who is this?
So for Fallout 4, Emil and the rest of Bethesda's crack writing team sit down. What Fallout really needs is an emotional story, boys. Also, Todd's been quite blatantly gunning for a more mainstream crowd for over a decade now, and no one in the general public can really read anymore due to brain rot. So let's kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and go for a voiced protagonist.
Clearly AI generated, but come on, mate. Okay, look. I made this complaint with regards to the Internet Historian in the past video as being like the budget creator, in that the assets that you make use of are like stock images and all stuff that you literally just rip off of Google Images. Like, stick to that, man. That it's charming. It's charming. Don't go in AI generate stuff, man. Like, come on. It's so on the nose. That's the problem. And like, I have no issues with using AI sometimes to make fun stuff. Okay, don't get me wrong for this criticism. It's not to say that the dude did something bad, it's just that it sticks out like a sore thumb.
What they didn't see coming, they couldn't possibly have predicted, was that voicing every single line of dialogue your character says in the game 2 times.
I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world.
I am Barbie girl, I said.
Is a bit expensive and quite time consuming. So Todd and the team do what they do best. Streamline. That old iconic speech system? Get rid of it. That Mass Effect game is pretty good. Let's use theirs. Let's also lock the player down to 4 speech options at all times.
Ugh.
And let's not even allow them to see what those options are.
Yeah.
Brilliant. This results in a ton of speech options being quite deceiving.
Shut up and sit down, you big bald fuck.
And because writing is hard,
Nuance.
let's just boil every speech option down to yes, sarcastic yes, maybe yes, and no, but actually yes. 2 of the first and most popular mods to come out removes the voiceovers entirely and actually shows you what you're saying.
Yeah.
And this problem becomes quite plain to see. Skills are gone, and as a result, skill speech checks and dialogue
Also
too.
gone.
Special attribute speech checks too. There are charisma speech checks in the game,
I don't believe you.
but they rarely result in anything other than give me money.
All right. 200. 150.
They should have hired the folks from Eidos Montreal, those who were forced to also revamp their dialogue in Deus Ex. If any of you know the lore of Deus Ex Human Revolution and how it was such a downgrade from the original in terms of the actual RPG speech and how you could approach that. And later on, they had to revamp a lot in Mankind Divided to make it, you know, more palatable. But that game, unfortunately, did not capitalize too well. It's a shame. And now Deus Ex is gone, and I'm sad.
The protagonist's voice lines, which caused half the issues here, make up for around 25% of the game's dialogue data and script. That's about 26,000
Scheiße.
lines. All of this time and expense on a feature which fans hate and actively makes the game significantly worse. Brilliant. At least the dialogue's well written.
If you're here to talk me into working on Liberty Prime, you can forget it.
Do I need to remind you why you made that promise in the first place?
No, that won't be necessary. Tell Proctor Ingram to get her scribes ready.
Okay, I'll do it. No, yes, but you've considered yes? Okay.
Then there's the karma system, which they've gotten rid of, the faction system, but instead of the varied reputations like we've gotten in New Vegas, you're basically either with someone or against them. The skill and attribute checks they had out in the world in Fallout 3, basically nowhere to be found. They did put a couple in there though, just enough to remind us that they could have done it, but didn't. Far fewer evil character options, weapon durability's gone. The new, worse, layered armor system, holstered weapons are no longer visible. And the ending slideshow is not even gimped, it's just completely non-existent here.
Isn't it possible for companies like this to try to do what even the evil company has tried to do recently with Battlefield 6? Like, bring up a bunch of either content creators or just make like an open beta for people to actually test things out. And like they do this. It's okay. It's fine. You're a grown adult. You don't need to get mad at video games. They already do this. Just like with movies. They have people who come and test the games, right? It's literally a job. But I know that big studios like they shy away from trying to do what the likes of Lyrin will have done and have these things in some form of early access so that you can have the feedback from players as you keep on developing. Because hell, those shareholders will never give you time to flesh things out. But man, it is such a shame when you have an IP that has so much potential and you just waste it.
The game ends on essentially the exact same cutscene for all 4 endings.
Playing every hour on every channel.
For Fallout 4, Todd also doubled down on the procedural stuff again, and attempted to make the game infinitely replayable. And to do this, they'd cooked up the settlement system.
It's done.
A base building framework that allows you to construct your own towns across the map and establish trade routes between them. Sounds great. But again, there are issues.
Yeah, and they tried to ham-fist it by forcing you to have so many missions that involve the settlement.
The entire interface for base building is from the perspective of the player, limiting and obstructing camera angles, making construction a nightmare. There's also a ton of building and trash in the way that you can't scrap and have to build around. Again, a nightmare. Not a fan of the system? Unlucky. Because this mechanic is pretty much unavoidable. Elements are mandatory in the main quest, and one of the 4 factions' quest lines completely revolves around it. However, a benefit. Due to this new settlement system,
All of this just works.
players can now build their own settlements. No need for Bethesda to even bother. As a result, the game is majorly lacking in actual towns. Morrowind had something like 21 towns. Fallout 3 had about 15 proper settlements. New Vegas around 15 too. Fallout 4, 5 years later, somewhere around 7. The main city is also quite underwhelming.
Yeah.
Less settlements equals less quests. And surprise surprise, Fallout 4 is lacking here too. It has less than Skyrim, a game that came out 4 years earlier. Missing the towns and quests our old games had an abundance of. Well, here's a tiny hovel next to a lake for you to do up yourself. There are around 30 of these potential settlements, and Bethesda uses these to pad out the game's lack of content via more radiant quests. See, there's a man in the game called Preston Garvey, and he's about to become your worst nightmare.
Fuck you,
Prepare to hear
Preston!
this every time you speak to the man for the rest of the game. Naturally, the character is widely hated.
Another settlement.
I'll mark it on your map.
It turns out, he's essential. 10,000 people download a mod solely dedicated to killing him. There's also a mod that just stops him giving out quests in an attempt to make him more tolerable. It has around 50,000 downloads. Others turn to alternative ways of doing that. Settlements are also just kind of pointless.
What?
Others turn to alternative ways of doing that.
Mind you, around the time that Fallout 4 released, I was watching the likes of MXR play, who had covered a lot of Skyrim mods at the time. And you know the type of mods that MXR used to cover, but I did not know about this.
Settlements are also just kind of pointless.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
They have no impact on the main quest, and most of the actual settlers are just basic, randomly generated NPCs. You get money and items from establishing trade routes, but at the end of the game, you're pretty much drowning in all of that anyway. But Todd wasn't finished with the procedural stuff just yet. In New Vegas, there were a ton of unique weapons. These had unique effects and actually looked unique. In 3, most uniques had unique effects, but looked exactly the same as their default.
Yeah.
In 4, due to the new procedural legendary weapon system, any gun can now basically have any effect, meaning no weapons here actually feel unique. The same goes for armor. When it comes down to the amount of actual content in the game, disappointment here too. Cut content, par for the course for Bethesda games,
Yeah,
but it's never been
unfortunately.
more apparent. The map is densely populated like Skyrim, with a ton of interesting locations. The issue is, they all essentially end up just being a nice little backdrop to murder people in. Oh cool. A town made out of old boat, barge and ship parts. It's just a bunch of raiders you have to kill.
That's what I like to call the Ubisoft effect. Except the Ubisoft actually does flesh out the cities. They make them interesting. You get to witness like the uncanny valley moments where like people actually start talking and have genuinely good dialogue worth listening to, but nobody ever pauses on a Ubisoft game to start and look around. That's kind of a thing here. You have people who are making such amazing designs that occasionally even drop some awesome lore, but are stuck in like terminals, right? That you have to read, and nobody wants to fucking read a terminal because you're being shot at, because these places don't exist in order for you to actually dive deeper into the lore or story of the game. No, they're just a backdrop for you to have fights in. It is sad.
A gladiator-style arena in the middle of downtown Boston. Just a bunch of raiders to kill, with no reason to ever return. Fallout 4 is barely even attempting to be an RPG anymore. It's a sandbox, base building, looter-shooter, action exploration game. In 3,
it does
Bethesda
try.
had absolutely nailed
It does try. It does try. Let's not just say that. There's a reason why there are Fallout lore channels who explain a lot of these things for you. It does exist. The thing is, you need to have somewhat of a guiding hand. The game doesn't need to hold your hand, but you need to have somewhat of a guiding hand. At least a red thread, something that is somewhat consistent. For you to know that, oh, I'm entering this place. Naturally, there should be something that is related to either the lore or some explanation or a way for me to gather power-ups in like a natural way. Or the word that I'm looking for is diegetic. That's how you are supposed to be communicating what is going on in your world. I unfortunately don't really feel that in Fallout 4. Perhaps it's because some of the other games that I recently have played, the likes of Baldur's Gate that I mentioned before, and so much else, at least I mentioned Larian Studios, set such a high bar that that's kind of how I want things to be included, which again in no ways means that it needs to be the only way that you do this, okay? That's not what I mean, but there should be a bigger attempt at doing that and not just going for the simplest way.
the atmosphere. It's pretty much unanimously praised. So in 4, they change it completely. The gloomy, gritty, post-apocalyptic vibes of 3 turn into bright, colourful and hopeful in Fallout 4.
And there's nothing wrong with... Okay, no, hold on. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that is a stupid criticism. Not everything needs to return back to the 2011 piss colors or the Mexico filter. It's like saying that, oh, let me make a game about ancient Greece or the Roman Empire, and let us make it with the most muted colors ever. Rise, son of Rome. If you're not going for a straight up stylized approach, let it be bright, because First and foremost, that is historically accurate. Second, if having your color palette changed result in the greediness of your game being somewhat severely, not somewhat, but severely diminished, then I think you're doing something wrong.
Also, for a AAA game in 2015, the graphics are not great. Stiff animations and pretty horrific textures across the board. The super mutants look especially bad. Compared to The Witcher 3 the same year, yeah, not great.
Yeah, that's one is
fair.
fair.
Despite the bad graphics, the game runs terribly. Fallout 4 also features an art style change that in a lot of cases does the game no favours. Some weapons look weird, tools look worse, and super mutants go from deformed, hunched over mutants to just large green men.
Okay,
We
come
don't talk
on.
about the synth armor.
Come on.
Also, is that gun bolt on the wrong side? The writing. Again, Emil is back as head writer, and as a result, we're served an absolute masterclass of storytelling. We emerge from a vault, looking for an immediate family member. Again. The big silver people. They're back, and central to the storyline. Again. Look.
Yeah, this one is hard to defend. Emil? What the fuck?
Giant Robot Man finale. Again. Wow. Also, you've just left the vault with the sole mission of finding your only child, who's just been ripped from the clutches of your lifeless spouse. Only to immediately get sidetracked by Steve down the road, who needs some help building a shed. Not too long after the game comes out, Emil does a talk where he explains his writing method. It's controversial.
Keep it simple, stupid. This is what happens at Bethesda. When you write the main story of a game, we're gonna write the great American novel. It's gonna be this thick.
Keep it simple, stupid.
And you're gonna...
Hey, the KISS principle is not a bad one, but you can also make a good, compelling, simple story. Like, take the works of absolute elite writer Sam Lake in Alan Wake or in Max Payne. Max Payne is clearly the simple one, but the delivery, the way that it is executed, all of it comes out insanely well and I would argue is easier and better received than Alan Wake is, because Alan Wake is convoluted. You need to really be in tune with what is happening to actually get it. And same goes for the sequels, right? With Alan Wake 2 and or even extending all the way to Max Payne 3, where it continues to be simplistic, but the execution and everything is well made. So based on the principles alone, it's not a bad approach, but your execution sucks and your writing, the content is bad.
Give this book, this great American novel, to the player. And what are they gonna do with it? They're gonna rip out every page and make paper airplanes out of them. And they're never gonna see your story. They are gonna spend 30 hours making shacks. This is who we're making the game for. That's not the end of being a video game developer, because the true mark of being a real developer is waiting for to come in. And then
No, okay. I gave actual criticism and expected him to say what I said. But no, he did. He said what? He said what?
And you're going to give this book, this great American novel, to the player. And what are they going to do with it? They're going to rip out every page and make paper airplanes out of them. And they're never going to see your story. They are going to spend 30 hours making shacks. This is who we're making the game for. That's not the end of being a video game developer, because the true mark of being a real developer is waiting for reviews to come in. And then reading the reviews, of course, and hopefully, if you get lucky, ignoring the reviews.
Then there's the design of the game.
Oh my god. Okay. You should just stop. You should just stop at this point. We've used, or I have used, the example in a review made by Sev Zintag of Prey as the ultimate underdog in game development, because the creators of Prey, Arcane, whom in recent years you may have witnessed have suffered the indignity of being reduced to an absolute dogshit studio by having to release such games as
Holy Jesus. What is that?
when they had stuff like Dishonored, Dishonored 2, Death of the Outsider, and even Deathloop. Yes, I am arguing in favor of Deathloop here. And of course Prey under their belt. The issue with making an emergent sim, the ultimate form of RPG, is that 90% of the stuff that you're making is never going to be seen. That's why those games are so timeless, because you can go back to them and you endlessly find new ways of approaching the game. Not just lore-wise, but mechanically speaking. That is the part that most people tend to be hooked by. The story comes second, unfortunately, right? At least the depths of the story comes second. Like, you give a game to a reviewer, the reviewer is going to be spending what? 20 hours maximum going through the game so that they can quickly push out a review. So how much of the intricate things, the mechanics and the deep part of the lore are they going to actually uncover? If you especially are a studio of this size and you want to produce a game that is going to be selling to the masses, you should be able to make one that appeals to, one, the baby audience that is only going to be building shacks and settlements, the ones that are super lore invested, because you know that these are the people who have built your fandom. These are the cosplayers. These are the ones who keep on proliferating Fallout as a genuine thing, who are arguing in the comment section of a TV show about how it is that the Institute and whatever else is being depicted, because they know this stuff. And then of course build it for those who are going to try to break the game. This has literally been done before the turning of the century. Game designers have known about this. What this is laziness. That's all.
Emil is head of that too. See, lead designers of a game usually have this thing called a design document. This is available to everyone on the team and sets out pretty much everything the game is trying to achieve, keeping everyone on the same page at all times. New people join the company midway through development, just send them the design doc, and they'll be up to speed. Design docs are usually constantly updated throughout development, so if something changes, it'll be reflected on the document. But turns out, the lead designer is not a fan. Design docs take a bit of time to keep up to date, and it's just a bit too much effort. So for Fallout 4, he basically just scraps it, apparently resorting to a few smaller ones for specific areas of development. Now, Bethesda games are not small projects. Their studios consists of hundreds of people, collaborating across multiple countries.
We don't give two shits about how technology works, because all we care about is getting rich.
And now they're going about this without a cohesive, shared document. Doesn't sound ideal.
Not a great plan.
He receives a ton of backlash for this, and later walks it back in a tweet. And of course, the bugs are numerous. And incredibly basic things are still missing. There's still no ultra-wide support, or even an FOV slider, even though you can easily change it by modifying the ini file. This is on the PC in the year 2015.
No.
But of course, Bethesda knows their fan base will clean it all up for them, so it's all.
And there we have it. There we have it. Bethesda knows the fans. We've argued about this with Starfield. It would drop. Modders are going to go and get hold of it. And they are going to be making something wholly new. And somehow still, Bethesda, perhaps under the directive of ZeniMax, I don't know, I can't say for sure, are going to try to make it so that the mods are never compatible and actually needs to be sold to their own markets. Like, what the fuck?
Good. When Fallout 4 first released in November 2015, Todd and the boys offered a season pass for $30, including access to all future DLC content. At the time, the scope of the DLC isn't public knowledge, but the last two Fallouts had a clear formula of 4 to 5 decently sized story expansions, with new locations, quests, weapons, and enemies. so people expect something similar here. Bethesda had also stated that the season pass would be worth at least $40 in total. Pretty sweet deal. February 2016, and Bethesda has an announcement. They've expanded their original vision for 4's DLC.
Are you with me?
And the season pass price is getting bumped up to $50 in March. If you hadn't already, you better get that season pass now. They released their first expansion that same month, and it's a small questline with a character from Fallout 3, as well as a new robot building system. It's alright, I guess. April 2016, and DLC 2 is released, Wasteland Workshop.
Oh yeah.
This is basically just a few more things you can craft for your settlements, and some arena fighting. Okay. May 2016, and we get the first proper expansion, Far Harbor. And this is actually decent.
I was about to say, no, Nuka World did not release just yet.
Bethesda had clearly taken in some feedback here, because it includes actual RPG elements and is decently written. Let's just ignore that one quest there. They then released 2 more Workshop DLCs. Exciting stuff. Then the second full expansion, Nuka World, releases in August.
There we go.
Again, this expansion is good. The season pass was shaping up to be a pretty good buy. Wait, this was the last DLC? So that was 2 actual expansions, a small quest line, and then some tiny crafting DLC. Fans are pretty pissed.
People will buy anything. That doesn't mean...
Despite the issues, the game sells insanely well. Todd had done it again. And Fallout goes mainstream. Mass appeal. And hundreds of millions are conjured yet again. Todd gets suited and booted, and heads to the Game Awards, ready to sweep up yet again. But once he gets there, something feels different. The atmosphere.
Oh yeah.
Todd has some white wine, and dips into the salmon pinwheel. It's fine. It's probably nothing. And the lights dim, and there it is. Best RPG.
The best RPG. The winner is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
What?
Who would have thunk?
Developer of the Year.
For Developer of the Year goes to...
CD Projekt.
CD Projekt Red.
What?
I loved 2015, man. Oh, it was such a blast. What the hell did you think was gonna happen?
Game of the Year.
And the winner for Game of the Year 2015 is... The Witcher 3.
What?
Witcher sweep.
Outrage. Todd Howard snubbed. He leaves and gets cracking on his next game. This thing was going to be a masterpiece. The consistent regression of their games, definitely noted. But Bethesda still has a generally tremendous reputation. In a market currently setting its sights exclusively on your mother's credit card.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello.
Good evening, sir. I'm calling from your credit card company.
Bethesda had stuck it out, remained single player, and actively avoided egregious monetization. Mostly. One of the few decent gaming companies left. But around 2016, and even this begins to change. In October, Bethesda Softworks decides to make a controversial change. See, game reviewers typically get sent out review copies a few days or even weeks before games come out. This is so they have enough time to actually play the game before writing an entire review on it for launch day. For longer, single-player games like the ones Bethesda Softworks publish, this is pretty important. But Bethesda now reckons, nah, let's just send review copies out one day before launch. So, everyone, including those in the media, get to experience our games at the same time. Definitely not to sweep glitches and issues with the games under the rug until everyone had already bought the game. This is obviously quite controversial, and after releasing a couple of games under this, they backpedal. Also, around the same time, a tiny indie developer is developing a small game called Pray for the Gods. ZeniMax hears about this and comes knocking. Nice name you got there, pal. But turns out, we already have a game with the word pray in the title. Nothing personal, kid. They're forced to change the name. A few years before that, Mojang was making a game called Scrolls. ZeniMax had come knocking then too. Same result. Also in 2016, Todd has a surprise for us. It had been 2 years since Fallout 4, and players are starting to get hungry once more. And lucky for us, Todd and the boys had something in store. Another edition of Skyrim. That was on top
now
of Skyrim
playing on your
Legendary
fridge.
Edition back in 2013, Skyrim VR Edition, which would release in 2017, and Skyrim Nintendo Switch Edition shortly after that. Fans are overjoyed. That's not all. The Special Edition replaces the original Skyrim listing on Steam. It also changes the game from 32-bit to 64-bit.
Which absolutely crashed all the mods that I had.
Meaning every single mod is now automatically broken and needs updating. It's not all bad. They announce mods on consoles. They also announce paid mods for all platforms. The Creation
Club.
It was simple. Slide some cash over to modders to create a mod that probably already exists on the Nexus for free. Create their own currency with predatory pricing models. And then sell these mods to players through it. The first few creations are simply jaw-dropping. An $8 Chinese stealth suit, pretty much identical to the one in the base game of Fallout 3, for free, and also currently available on the Nexus, for free. And look, horse armor again. Brilliant. 2018. It's rumoured that Todd is working on a massive
76.
brand new IP. Their first in 25 years, called Starfield. So naturally, we're probably not going to hear much from him for a while. But then, on May the 29th, another countdown appears. This time on Bethesda's own Twitch. On it, the words, "Please stand by." My god, it's happening again.
Hey, it's happening! Everybody stay calm!
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
And then, there he is.
Have we waited long enough, guys?
Wait, what was this? It was only 3 years since the last Fallout. Could this be the massively anticipated New Vegas sequel? Perhaps Fallout 5 skipped the queue. Speculation goes wild.
Everything on this wall is connected.
Regardless, the next day, the countdown drizzles down to 0, and the world sees the next Fallout for the very first time.
I knew the horror.
Excitement. Although people still don't really know what it is they're excited for. June 10th. It's E3. Todd charges on stage, and we get some actual details.
16 times the details.
Is entirely online. All new rendering, lighting, and landscape technology. It is 4 times the size of Fallout 4. 16 times the detail. Of course you can play this solo. You'll never even see a server when you play.
This all sounded brilliant. An online PvP base building survival game. The collector's edition looks promising too.
And it also comes with a Fallout collectible that really I've always wanted, so we made them for everybody to buy, and here it is.
Okay, no. But we do get a helmet, a map,
that glows in the f***ing dark,
and some army figures, alongside a
that duffel bag.
It's also the perfect time to tease Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6, 2 games that are around 5 and 10 years out from launch respectively. But anyway, this thing's coming out on November the 14th, and that was just 5 months away.
Oh boy. And then it happened.
Bethesda had held a beta a couple of weeks before launch for people who'd pre-ordered the game, and things start out rough. By this point, Bethesda weren't exactly known for the structural integrity of their software, and they'd decided to launch the game exclusively on their brand new Bethesda launcher, made in-house by Bethesda's best. Just go to their website, download it, slurp up the 45 gigabytes of game files, and in around a week's time when the beta's unlocked, just hit play. Simple enough.
Yeah, 2018 was the year where everybody was going with their own launchers. It was outrageous, man. Origin, Steam, well, Steam is fine, and GOG is also fine, because at least there you know that you have your games forever. But Epic, Bethesda, everybody needed to have their own stuff.
Players do exactly this, but turns out, for some, upon pressing the play, the launcher deletes the entire game instantly. Bethesda releases an emergency statement telling players to stay calm and not to touch anything. They're working on it. and then promptly deletes the tweet. Things are off to a good start. Also, the YouTubers. They're uploading videos. They're not good. They say the game is running horrifically.
I couldn't get the game to run smoothly. I had tons of FPS issues and tons of stutters.
Even on NASA tier PCs, and that bugs are everywhere.
Oh, yay.
But fans disagree. The dislikes come in hard and fast. Bethesda would obviously fix everything before release. This is a beta after all.
Right.
However, this is a beta about 3 weeks out from launch. Fans,
like, seriously, have you not seen the pattern already?
Close YouTube and head over to Twitch, where Rick and Morty are streaming the game.
I know I'm naked, but just come help me out. No funny business.
Everything was gonna be okay. 14th of November 2018, and the world is blessed with Fallout 76. And after downloading a day one patch bigger than the game itself, players boot up and step out into what would be
an untamed and very different wasteland.
It certainly was.
Todd had made some grand promises, and the follow-through was nothing short of incredible. Voluptuous size, and the detail simply eye-watering.
16 times.
However, Fallout 76's development was handed to a newer, relatively inexperienced Bethesda team in Austin, with the main Bethesda Maryland just designing and overlooking the development of the game.
Bruv, everybody in Austin just gets so much shit. It's like, if you're situated in Austin, you know that your game is going to suffer.
And turns out, this new team decided to forego bug testing entirely. And on launch, Christ.
Isn't this the exact same thing that happened to Cyberpunk 2077? Wherein it was actually an issue of communication, where they did not communicate correctly with the beta testers, or the bug testers at least. Language barriers and everything. And so they kind of forgone a lot of the bugs that were in there.
There are frozen enemies,
It's a glitch!
flying enemies, invisible enemies,
Hello?
naked enemies, upside down naked enemies, invincible players,
Shot. Or not. I could get the damage bug.
pop-ins, rendering issues,
16 times the detail.
random god rays, T-poses, server crashes,
Hey, bye-bye, bitch. Told you.
and muscle man. Animations are also off. There's a ton of exploits, and so much more.
What the f*** is going on?
The modders will fix it.
The year is also 2018, and Bethesda's newest AAA game is capped at 60 frames per second, even on PC. Naturally, players are quite annoyed, so they dig into the game files and start tinkering. And in a mere few minutes, they figure out a simple fix. However, turns out the cap's there for a reason, because turn it off, and time and space itself speeds up and destabilizes. This is because the game world's physics are actually tied to the frame rate of the game. Head over 100, and your character becomes the Flash.
It's like good old games when you decide to turn off VSync. What the fuck happened? Why am I hearing interstellar music?
This bug has been in Bethesda's engine code dating back to Morrowind, and it's one of the many bugs modders have repeatedly fixed on their own, almost instantly after release, only for every following game to reintroduce it. There's also still no FOV slider,
Can't keep getting away with it!
so PC players dig into the game files again and do it themselves. But turns out, the UI is tied to the field of view here. Change this, and the UI elements are just gone. Push to talk? Sorry, not this time. Proximity chat is either permanently off or always on, the latter by default, meaning you'll be hearing the cries of children and screams of mothers in the distance fairly often.
Man, take a shit. It's disgusting.
There's also no text chat, and on PC, you can barely remap the horrific controls. The game itself, also quite lacking, as was now well established.
Wow.
Bug fixes and patches for Bethesda games had been outsourced to modders for free. But for Fallout 76, Todd decided to outsource the actual content too.
My personal favorite part of Fallout 76 is when they create their own fun.
See, Bethesda had so much of their team working on the detail.
16 times the 16 times the 16 times the detail.
That developing actual things to do and interactable NPCs, simply not possible. And the game features absolutely no human characters. Only other players. But it's alright. Other players will take the place of NPCs,
Right.
Todd reassures us. With no NPCs in the game, naturally, the quests are terrible. The main quest line basically boils down to following the trail of someone's vlogs across the map. Okay, at least there's the side quests. Stuff like Find Steve. Oh, Steve dead. Thank God he left this.
Oh, come
TikTok
on,
behind for
the
us to
bloody
watch.
AI generated one again.
Is over.
You are out of uniform, soldier! Where is your power armor? That suit is gonna come out of your pay! Now get out of my face and don't come back until you look like a soldier!
Fantastic. The game features PvP, but the PvP is horrific. Instead of simply adding PvP and PvE servers, Todd attempts to toe a tight middle ground, and makes it so two players have to shoot each other before either can do any actual damage. Shoot someone that hasn't shot you back yet, and you may as well be shooting blanks. And the graphics, still not great.
Beautiful, stunning, 2018.
Skill up.
It's not all bad. There are some cool things here, like dropping nukes, but drop more than one at a time and the servers will implode.
You'll never even see a server when you play.
The launch codes are also the same
Yeah,
for
because
every
they've been
server
destroyed.
and change once a week. Just spent countless hours getting all 8 pieces. You could have just Googled them.
I remember, the thing that was super sad. At the time when this released, I had discussions with an old YouTuber called Mad Queen, or Mad Queen TV, who was like one of the best lore creators with regards to the world of cyberpunk. And during that, on her Discord, we were playing Fallout 76, and there was like a deal that there was a meeting where people were supposed to all be launching nukes, and the server was absolutely demolished. It was hilarious. Like, Bethesda, like, pull your shit together.
The building is alright, but the build limit is extremely restricted, and all you can really do is build crafting stations, a bed, and storage.
Please don't tell anyone how I live.
Storage that is, again, extremely restricted. They end up raising it by 50% after a huge number of complaints, but they say they can't do any more due to server performance issues. So the game itself, not smooth. But the one thing that does work perfectly on launch is the new in-game shop, the Atomic Shop. Come in and browse such luxuries as a set of power armor with some paint slapped on for just $20. Deal.
Are you f***ing serious?
Do you like $7 digital fridges? Do you like the outfits you got for free in our last game? Great, come in and spend some money.
Pay.
Naturally, at first, there are pay-to-win concerns around this store. But Todd comes out. It's alright. You can earn the currency in-game, the purchases would fund the upcoming free expansions for the game, and most assuring of all, the Atomic Shop is and would stay cosmetic only, so that PvP would stay completely balanced and fair. We're definitely not asset flipping Fallout 4 and selling it back to you for dozens of dollars, and there are absolutely no fake discounts and law-breaking price schemes. Nice. Time to get spending. Naturally, the game doesn't make it a few days before discounts appear. The game starts at $60. Within just 1 week, a third of that is nixed. 50% sales not long after that. Alongside the discounts, hordes of fans had been requesting refunds. Initially, Bethesda had given in, but now, no more. Some people had even promised them, only to have Bethesda backtrack the next day. See, if this was on Steam, they'd have to give the green light.
Yeah, of course.
But here's the thing.
They got
It's on
it
that
all.
old launcher of theirs. Check and mate. But then come murmurs of a class action lawsuit, and they backtrack immediately. So the game is absolutely horrendous, and naturally, the sales are too. Also, no game awards, not even a nomination, and a whopping 2.6 on Metacritic. Right boys, should probably do something here. They can't rely on modders to fix the game this time round, so Bethesda gets to work on actual patches, and after a few months, Fallout 76 slowly morphs into something resembling a playable game. Also, the boys in Bethesda's R&D department had been working round the clock. And by the end of 2018, was that an FOV slider?
Oh, wow.
Even push to talk. What was happening?
Yeah, it became playable.
Despite the progress, there are some bugs they just can't quite crack. Also, a teleportation exploit using cameras, hackers finding a way to spawn in weapons, armor, and other objects into the game, even NPCs and stuff from other games.
Bethesda just does not have the infrastructure in place that allows them to deal with situations like this efficiently.
These hackers are also running around stealing people's entire inventory. They don't even have to see you to do this, as long as they're within the general radius of the player.
Why are you running?
And because the Pip-Boy is technically an item in your inventory,
No.
say goodbye to that too.
No.
Luckily, thanks to another glitch, the game checks if you have a Pip-Boy every time you log onto a server. So join a new server, and you'll be alright. It takes Bethesda around a week to address this, and when they do fix it, hundreds of people have lost everything. Victims are given two options: roll back their progress to before the muggings, or meet up with someone from Bethesda in a private world who will hand all your stuff back to you. But despite the improvements in the game, problems are surfacing outside of it. As part of the Collector's Edition, they'd promised a canvas bag, quite clearly labelled here. But on launch day,
I noticed that I called it a duffel bag before. My apologies. I, like Bethesda, kind of mixed the material here.
horror for collectors as they unboxed their editions, and it was nowhere to be found. Instead, a cheap nylon bag in its place. After suggesting a canvas shortage and then denying replacements, they backtrack again and hand out a form for people to fill out a replacement.
We're sorry.
This goes through very smoothly, with no issues. However, this is not the only underwhelming merchandise. September 2019. It's been around a year since release, and after countless bug fixes, Fallout 76 is in okay shape, and now the game and its mishaps are largely forgotten. But the Collector's Edition wasn't finished. It would spring up one more time in the media. This time it was the helmets. They were accumulating dangerous levels of mold. If you were the lucky owner of one of the collectible Nuka-Cola versions, turns out the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission considers them a severe health risk for anyone with one in the household. They're recalled and refunded.
Ouch.
Bethesda's reputation was already slipping before the events of 76, but Fallout 76 was a major tipping point. Gamers were angry. They were rising up. So angry, these gamers made numerous angry YouTube videos and forum posts, most of which attained a ton of upvotes from other angry gamers. Things were getting serious. Bethesda thought it best not to respond to the horror that was the launch of this game, and return to the shadows, and Todd and the boys lay low, go off the grid. Before launch, you could often find Pete Hines, Vice President of Bethesda Softworks and Head of Marketing and PR on Twitter, answering curious fans' questions about the game. Afterwards, nothing. Complete radio silence. But after a while, the game is improving. The roadmap that initially launched for the game is taking shape, and the expansions are actually decent. They'd even added actual NPCs. Wow. Todd had even apologized.
Fallout 76 had a lot of difficulties at launch, and we got a lot of well-deserved criticism.
To the optimistic, it looked like things at Bethesda had in fact begun to change. Their trail of greed, incompetence, and outright refusal to listen to what their fanbase wanted was just a brief nightmare, a small bump in the road. Finished. Unfortunately, Todd had other plans. They'd said Fallout 76 would never be pay to win. Microtransactions would be cosmetic only. So when they released repair kits to the Atomic Shop in early 2019, fans are confused. Todd had lied, but he wasn't finished. In 2020, the promised private servers arrive, and they're paywalled behind Fallout 76's new subscription service.
Oh yeah.
Fallout First. Private servers, unlimited storage for scrap, monthly atoms, exclusive cosmetics, and a tent. all for just $13 a month. More expensive than Netflix at the time. Oh god. Fallout 76 is trending on Twitter again. A ton of angry forum posts are cropping up. People are not happy. Also, they forgot to reserve the actual Fallout first domain name, and someone on 4chan managed to get there first.
Oof.
Of course, this service was not without issues. The private servers turned out to use recycled multiplayer worlds that had evidence of recent activity from other players, such as dead enemies, looted areas, and so on. The infinite stash was gobbling up people's scrap, which they could no longer find. Yeah. Once again, things were not smooth. It's now
fine.
2020 and up at corporate movement. See, back in 2007, a private equity firm called Providence had bought around 300 million ZeniMax shares, and then some more in 2010. They're presumed to hold around 30 to 40% of the stock. What followed was a shopping spree. ZeniMax uses this money to buy Tango Gameworks, id, and Arcane.
Oh, yeah. I did not know the name. Okay, now, I knew of the acquisitions, but I did not know where it stemmed from. Okay, well, Tango Games, of course, made Hi-Fi Rush 8, you know, from the myriad of games that they did, especially with the one that somehow today is controversial to talk about because you get to kill Nazis, and Arcane.
And rumour is, by 2016, their little investment has paid off quite nicely, and Providence is looking to lock in some profits and sell. However, at this point, ZeniMax are only valued at $2.5 billion. That was embarrassing. We can do better, boys. And so, a plan is hatched. Instead of sticking to huge, intermittent, high-quality releases every few years, let's consider the quarterly cash flows. How about a few mobile games, price tags on mods, egregiously priced cosmetics, and then the masterpiece that was Fallout 76.
Oh my god.
There.
Money.
Now, on paper, the company looks great. Just forget about everything else. And the plan works perfectly. Microsoft's Phil Spencer marches straight into their office, and on September 21st, 2020, they announced the acquisition of ZeniMax Media for $7.5 billion. And on the 9th of March 2021, the deal goes through. Xbox now has 23 game studios, and the prime cut of the meat, Todd Howard and the boys.
And that's without talking about Starfield.
Leap, effectively laying the foundation for the modern open world game and setting the blueprint for all following Bethesda titles. Todd was the visionary behind it, but with little competition, a horrific engine, and a complete dismissal of fan feedback. Innovation turned to safe, stagnant, and outdated and repetitive releases. And by 2021, it was clear. The Bethesda we once knew was no longer. It's him. How did he find you? Todd leans in gently, hair combed to perfection, his frosty eyes glistening. A faint aroma of jasmine and manuka honey radiates from him. You stand strong and firm. You've fallen for this before. There's nothing he could say to then you feel his touch. The hairs on your neck shoot up as he leans in, the manuka now hot in your nostrils, and he whispers in your ear once more.
Painstakingly huge.
Starfield.
4 times the size. You'll need a free hand.
Starfield.
Todd's next game was coming out next year, and you'd just pre-ordered it.
Shouldn't have done that. That was pretty good ending. I like that. That was well structured. This actually goes to a very long way to show how the argument that I made in the start of the video, that like the writing of Starfield and a bunch of other things that Bethesda would have done is like the least of our problems. But good video. I guess that this is the second entry this year on Bethesda, and we might get a big one. I haven't watched the other one that he made on why Bethesda is bad, so perhaps that will contain So perhaps that one will contain some Starfield content, but perhaps we might see some Starfield stuff in the future. That being said, folks, thank you so much for checking out this video. Of course, make sure to subscribe to the Big Boss, and if you like this reaction, don't forget to hit that like and also subscribe on to see more. We should also have a wonderful day and see you guys in the next one. Bye.